Welcome in to Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase, the business voice of Chicago for you.
Hi, good morning, Ken. How you doing?
Good, brother. How are you? Good week?
Yeah, pretty decent week. You know, lots of things going on. The heat wave finally hitting us here.
We've been blessed in the Midwest, but it's
well, we've only had 3 or 4 weeks of summer,
right.
You know, the rest, in 9 months of winter, but yeah, it's moving in the right direction. I actually got to go to a Cubs game wearing shorts for the first time and didn't freeze my butt off or whatever.
Right.
So that was kind of nice.
You didn't go to the south side.
No,
not that.
I will in 2 weeks though, when they come play on the north side.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I have a spammer calling me. Yeah. But let's welcome in our guest, Jan Barlow, right away. Get her in here and start having a good conversation. Jan, join us. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you're doing.
Hey, how are you, Bill? Thanks for joining. Inviting me, and this is going to be a great show and a great conversation. Thank you.
I agree. We've recently met and become instant friends, and I love some of the stuff you're doing. So please fill us in on that.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, how we started to be introduced by Steve Ramona. This whole entrepreneur journey, right? And I started mine. I started Better Job Fit back in 2009, and really serving veterans and foster care alumni. And fast forward when COVID hit, really reinventing what was needed. And so that's really how we started the Human Revolution Disruptor Summit. It started to really break out when it comes to reimagine work and life. And we took Better Job Fit from 2 brands to 5 brands over the course of a year. And so with the summit, we're just really excited to be coming together with people like you who are doing unique things in the workplace and just really reinventing how we work and live.
Yeah, interesting, reinventing that. I like that. So we don't need to stay in our crappy old jobs that we hate anymore?
I got to tell you, 2020 and 2021, when that great resignation that's still going on, really what happened was COVID put us on the couch. And so that allowed human beings to reevaluate their lives, their values, what is all this about, right? And it created a really a psychological disruptor. And what's interesting, that changed all of human behavior. So when you think about on a global level, it didn't matter your socioeconomic status, race, human race. Okay, that's what it affected. And so right now, I mean, it's still going on. People, this isn't a linear, it's going to stop. Oh, that's exactly right. How you and I talked about it, it's like a merger and acquisition, right? Of companies. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, right? And this process of reimagining work and life it goes out. It's happening now. Like that's what we love about bringing people together whether it be virtual or in person. It's bringing people together across all industries, all positions, coming together to really look at reimagine work and life. And really the byproduct, we actually have beta projects that we roll out and put analytics to and academic white papers. So it's really fun.
It's a big snowball going downhill, and I agree. It's so overdue, and it's so needed and wanted that you're right. It's touching every culture globally, as I'm involved in, and it's crazy. It is a revolution.
It really is. It really is. I mean, it's we expect the industries, human resource industries or academia, those industries are not really positioned to be innovative, right? So when human behavior has changed so much, those entities and industries, they can't respond. They can't even react, let alone respond.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they're
that's
forever
just not
behind
part of
trying
it.
to.
Correct.
Yeah, they're reactionary, so they're behind, and especially the academics, and it's in this country tremendously behind. The times from the time your kid first goes to school all the way through college, we need a complete revampment, much like we do with the healthcare industry. But we're not going to see any of that happen.
Well, the people, it comes down to it. What's interesting this year, our focus is on business disruptors. And you and I spoke about these entrepreneurial programs that schools are doing or companies are doing, and they're focusing on college students. Well, reality is this year we have two business disruptors, one who is 11 years old that owns her own restaurant, and a 13-year-old that has two businesses and four employees.
You hear
Now, where
that,
do you
folks?
go? Where do you go with that? Right? I mean, that's reality. That's reality. It's not a one-off. I mean, when you think of YouTube, people involved in TikTok, YouTube video, there's right now, this was 3 years ago, 150 different ways that you can make money without having a job, all by a phone. All by a
Yeah.
phone, 150. So again, this whole bag of chips that we were sold about go to college, get, so you can get a good job, that hasn't been reality for a very long time.
No, ask all those recent graduates how they're dealing with their loans and paying things back. I know they're kind of on a hiatus, but the life's going to hit them in the face pretty soon here. But it's interesting because we do have to start younger age, right? We've got to get the mindsets changed and going forward. And people, we still have all the Great Resignation, all those people that came out, they're still doing things conventionally though. Starting new businesses, they still think they can hang a shingle up outside and people are going to come banging down their door. And then they realize that doesn't happen because you just because you were this senior vice president executive of marketing for IBM doesn't mean anything to most people when they're looking for a good marketing person. It's like, okay, so you were a big box company, but what do you really know?
That's right. It's not about who you worked for. That's great, right? That gets you somebody to say, oh, okay, I'll listen to you for, you got my attention for 3 seconds. But then after that, what do you bring to the table? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the sea of people, what do you bring to the table? And it really does require you to now look at yourself and really drill down. What's your differentiator? I mean, that's really huge. I mean, but because of our ego, it's hard for us to be objective about ourselves. It's actually impossible, right? So you really have to do some internal, introspection to say, okay, what are you bringing to the table? And it's not an easy task to market yourself, right?
No, I would say that it's almost impossible if you're going to try and do it internally with yourself, because who fights you more than anybody else in your lifetime is you. And I think talking to someone like you brings more to the table, because I can lie and cheat to myself. I can tell myself whatever I want to tell myself and say, oh, that's the way it is. I believe it. I'm going forward this direction. That doesn't necessarily do me a whole lot of good. But we are dealing with a bunch of folks that really don't understand some of these fundamental changes that are starting to happen. And fundamental is a, I purposely use that word because when we change fundamentals, that's a big shift.
It is.
But
and our brain is wired to resist change, first and foremost. So now you're already 10 steps behind, right? Because you're just your brain's trying to just, grasp change, and it's going to fight change anyway. So that's really the, one of the big, like you said, fundamental issues, right? That you have to deal with.
Yep. So Jan, you talked about the ego, and one of the, and I'll share it here in the comments, but you want to go to HR Disruptor Summit, and I'll put the website up there.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
on day 2, one of the sessions is demolishing ego and constructing collaboration and innovation. Talk to me a little bit more about that, because sometimes it's not just your ego, but it's your spouse's ego, right? So,
Or your
Exactly.
partner's ego, or
That's
yeah.
exactly right. Right. Ego, it doesn't matter if you're human, you got it, right? That's what we all deal with. But what a lot of people, our topics that we cover, and again, it's across all industries and positions. These topics can be applied to your home, right? Your home life, your work life. That particular segment is really quite interesting, because when we talk about collaboration, business collaboration, right? It could be internal collaboration at work. Really people understanding how that ego works, and how like, from a communication standpoint, how can we create really a more positive environment that really addresses the basic issues, human issues of ego, and not get offended, right? And how can we create environments to where we can help people lower their resistance gap of maybe being defensive, right? Because in collaboration, people think, and Bill and I spoke about this, in business, people have this competition, right? Fear of competition. I always say, how many hats can where can you buy a hat? I can go to the 7-Eleven and buy a hat. I can go to Macy's to buy a hat. There's no such thing as competition, right? It's a fear-based belief. But that specific segment that you just mentioned, what we really love about that issue is really diving deep. What is ego? People think, oh, ego is bad. No, it's not that it's bad. Just know what it is. Don't start labeling, right?
yeah.
So that's really getting people to lose these labels, switch from the left brain to the right brain, because now when you can switch somebody physically, right, psychologically, from the left part of the brain to the right part of the brain, you're really delving down into creating new brain synapses, right, new pathways of understanding. So when it comes to collaborating, the first and foremost is, let's talk about the ego and how do we address it, and how do we become more aware of it, to now where we can switch our brain from left to right, and now open lines of communication and get somewhere, right?
Well, to me, that starts in the hiring process. Number one, what type of people are you bringing in, right? Do they fit in with your organization? Do they fit in with your mission statement? Are they buying into what you're doing with your company? And I think that can help reduce the amount of the clash that you might find within egos. It's the same.
Yeah.
Look, we're working towards one common goal, right?
Right.
Isn't this what we're trying to do? So all ideas can be put on the table. That's fine. And then let's work from there. And it's being mature and an adult about it.
Right. You brought that. I love how you said that. Being open and bringing everything to the table. Okay. That's, to us, you and I, Bill, that's common sense, right? Because of our mindset and how we look at things. We see the world in multiple opportunities, right? Unlimited possibilities, but mainstream mindset. And most people, especially if they're in a victim mindset, right? You got empowered versus victim. 85% of the world's population is in a victim mindset. So their neural pathways and how they look at a situation or opportunity is not multidimensional. It's just this way. It's very linear. So to a lot of companies and their cultures is like that, right? So
yeah,
that just it doesn't align with the way humans are designed to grow and expand and change.
I So you're aware I spent 20 years in the trading pits with the world's largest egos. Um, and
That's
and
right.
and so I understand the ego quite well, and I understand the need for it, and sometimes the uses of it. But we oftentimes we run into people with big egos that are people that make a pretty fair amount of money, and they think because they make a lot of money that they're smart, and it always cracks me up because there's no direct correlation there.
Mm-mm.
Just ask all the actors and actresses out there that think they can be politicians.
But from day one of education, right? If you're a public school you're being educated, you're going to go to school for 4 years, and then they're still kind of stuck in that, and then you're going to come out and get a good paying job.
Oh yeah, that's
There isn't a lot of, listen, get through high school, but be as creative and as wild and as imaginative as you can, and go out and change the world.
You can't do
right?
that, Kent.
So
we don't allow for creativity.
right,
We crush that.
but now you've got people, in their mid 50s, early to mid 50s, right, who are
And
now
older.
on, with their eighth company, perhaps, because they had to change every 2 years to get more money. That are now saying, what, Jan? Wait a minute, why aren't I doing this for myself?
That's exactly right. That's why in 2020, 4.4 million people started their own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
5.4 the next year.
Yep.
5 million in 2022, right? So
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about those people except Bill and I, right?
Yeah, right.
Well,
Right.
yeah,
I
we
mean-
have had this conversation, and unfortunately, we know that the percentage of those that are going to fail, and it's way too high.
The percentage of those, again, will have learning lessons.
I
Right?
love
Yeah,
how you said that,
let's-
Kent. That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah, we won't say fail. It just
Right.
they will have extreme challenges.
Because I'll speak on my own behalf. Is I've been married 31 years. My wife, who I would do anything for, loves the stability of knowing how much money every 2 weeks is getting put into an account.
Yeah.
Does not love I don't know, right? So sometimes it's speaking for myself, is I own this company that DDOE, and yet there's a piece of me who's afraid to go all in because I don't have, because of my support, and the person that I love the most in the world loves to have that comfort, right? And
Well-
how do you get around that?
Well, but there's different kinds of people, right, Jen?
There are. And you know what? It's interesting because you do have to take that in consideration. Bill, what's your favorite saying? Take action and then mitigate the risk. Right?
Yeah, make the trade and manage the risk.
Yeah.
Right. So when you talk about the different behavior
Mhm.
categories, so to speak, right? So assertiveness, pace, decisiveness, right? Independence. You got a scale of 1 to 10, just
Yeah.
because they got to measure. You could have somebody that is, a 1 or a 2 on decisive, one partner or one person, and then the other person is the total opposite, more than 2 numbers, right? You could be at the total opposite of the scale. And you can pull back, right, to a couple of numbers, but there's still going to be that resistance gap. It's a challenge. It really is a challenge, Kent, because us as individuals, I just know myself as a business owner, since grade 8. I mean, when I was literally 8 years old, I have older brothers that are 5, 10, and 15 years older than me. When it came to selling the candy bars at high school, they would always have me sell their candy bars.
Yeah.
So I grew up around that. Well, what's
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
so age 10, started my own little carnival in the backyard so I could take the money, got sold tickets just to everybody in my neighborhood. I took the $23 that I made and gave it to the Jerry Lewis telethon, right? So that entrepreneur has been in me all this time.
Yeah.
And leading up, so even though I worked, I was an employee, it's that's a tax status. That's a tax category. It's not it's not who you are, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a balance, because there is a fear. Like if you don't have that income, that steady income, something bad will happen. It's that fear though that I know I've had to move through, and exactly what Bill and I were speaking about last time, what entrepreneurs, when you start a business, get ready to be scared.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the given, right? That's what makes you have to pull within your own self, like to draw within that resilience. And I shared with Bill over the last couple of months. I mean, my business email was down for 3 weeks.
Oh.
And we have a website that all of a sudden was up during all this, and now it's gone. And I'm like, okay, God, like I'm ready to, like jump, like I'm gonna go get that job at 7-Eleven,
Right.
I mean,
Right. Yeah.
but it really, I just say, every time that happens, that's just a sign that asks me, how bad do you want it, Jan? How
Yeah.
bad do you want it? Right.
Well,
So that's the question I have for you, Kent, because you're in that situation
Yeah.
that you're not all in because of that. Right.
Right.
So at some point, the only question you have to ask yourself, you got to be okay with it.
Mhm.
Right.
There's different levels for everybody.
Yes,
It's
exactly. It's not one or the other. It's not linear.
no,
Right.
it
Right.
isn't, and and there's different levels of risk that
Sure.
we're talking about here that you can take. You can dip your toe in the water, or you can jump all in. Dipping your toe is going to be a much longer process. It's going to
Yeah.
be more challenging. You're going to run into more issues and problems, I think, because jumping all in, it all comes at you at one time. You got to deal with it and figure it out. And that's what this show is all about, is trying to teach you how to deal with that,
Yeah.
what to expect. But then there's, if you're risk averse, you can go do the business in a box and buy a franchise.
Oh yeah.
Then if you think that's risky, it's much less risky than trying to start a business from scratch. Right? You're business in a box. It tells you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and all you got to do is follow the instructions, and you can do well. And there are people out there that this scenario fits for very well. Veterans being one of them. Because they've been brought through that military style of learning, right? Do is just follow instructions. But it's still, to some people, that's huge risk.
Huge risk. Yeah.
Well,
because
and-
maybe,
and that's interesting that you brought that up. That the job in a box, right? The business in a box. I had a client that was the VP, the VP of global IT for Texas Instrument. Okay. She was looking to retire 1 year from that point. So she went to a business broker who I, would help every now and then. The business broker was getting businesses back within 3 to 5 years. So they would sell a business, and then all of a sudden that business owner came back to them and said, look, you got to find somebody to buy this, because I can't do it. So they were seeing such a high, this was like 2011, 2012. So they were seeing they're saying, okay, something's not right here. And I said, well, it's about matching the person to the business and what their role is, because we have this assumption that we have to do everything in the business.
Right.
So this one person wanted to buy a brick and mortar bead store. So think of like Michael's, or, smaller, right? So she was going to invest $2 million in a little boutique to sell beads and crafts and stuff. So think of what her role is. She's got 100 managers around the world, and then they have, thousands of employees underneath. So I did a job matching assessment on her. So remember that scale of 1 to 10? Okay.
Yeah.
She was a 2 on sociability. She was a 10 on independence, And so the scale, sociability, meaning the person doesn't care if they're alone. Like they don't want to be around people. They'd rather just work alone, right? So,
Okay.
so understanding, brick and mortar business and saying, okay, here are all the positions that you'd have to hire for that, right? Somebody to work the front desk, the sales piece, right? To ring on the cash register, do your books, maintenance, etc. She kept on saying, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what we all do in our
Yep.
business. Say, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. It doesn't matter whether it's our business or a job when we're reading a job description. That's not how you, it's not about that. If you can do it, if you think you can do it, you have to separate yourself and say, am I the right person to do that job
Yes.
in that
Yes.
business or in that,
Absolutely.
right? So that right there, to debunk, to think that you have to do or should do every aspect of your business is incorrect. So, I mean, it doesn't work out
It's
well, right? So
it's
it
insane.
right. So
You know.
it ended up, so we did her match profile, right?
Okay.
Her results against all these other positions.
Okay.
Okay. And then, I'm looking at a score of a, 40% match to out of 100 that she can do to ring people up and be customer service. Okay. I mean, that wasn't going to work out. I just asked her, I said, okay, it's Black Friday. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and you have 20 people in line waiting to purchase things, right? To check out. And the
Yeah.
first person is holding a little bead bag and it has and she wants to return it because it has only 99 beads in it. She looked at me and she said, you have what? She said, nobody needs 100 beads. I mean, plain and simple. Why is she complaining about 99 beads? I said, that is why you should not be working the front cash register, because the 24 people that are waiting in line are watching to see how you're going to respond.
Yes. And you
Right.
know, and you can keep saying, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And then it turns into, I'll get to it. I'll
Yeah.
get to it. I'll get to it. And then it turns into a bigger problem and a bigger issue. Like I can't get to it. I'm too swamped over here, or now it's such a big problem that I have to get to it. And now now what
Exactly.
you've done is taken yourself away from the other things that you were planning on getting to, because you
Yeah.
can do. And it snowballs, and it will drag a business owner down very,
Sure.
very quickly.
I mean, and you'll get, and hence just what they were experiencing, 10, 12 years ago, those people coming back with the business after they bought it 3 years and saying, you got to find somebody to buy this business because I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Listen, we've got our good friend Jan Barlow, and she is putting together, it's a great summit. It's called the Disruptor Summit. Go to www.hr-disruptors summit. So it's more than one disruptor. So disruptorssummit.com. And this is a live down in Dallas, I believe. Yeah.
It is October 18th through the 20th.
And there's just, I mean, if you're one of those people, I mean, this is one of those things that I would say is a can't miss.
It's huge
event.
value.
Yeah.
Huge value. If you really want to be successful, you need to make an effort to learn about many things. I mean, this show has brought this on several times. It's like what you need to do is you need to learn what your role is, as Jan, as you've been saying, right? You need to learn what your role is, stick to your role, bring in people that are good at what you're bringing them in to do, and let them do it.
Yeah.
That's awfully hard for a lot of people. We're like, I'm starting a business. We want to micromanage, and we want to be the decision maker on everything. And that's a real quick trip to the hospital.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, that's right. Or you're going to quit, right? And the
Yeah.
only time you fail is when you quit.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
what most wind up doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they haven't done their homework. They don't do the due diligence. And I apologize. I'm not calling you a bad person. I'm just saying you can't just say, I want to start a business, hang a shingle out, and start advertising on Facebook and LinkedIn and think you're going to build this big business.
But hey, build it, they will come.
Well, yeah, that might be true for baseball, on the
Baseball,
field,
right.
but and it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen. There's the one-offs and things, but the reality is the majority of people who start a business don't fully understand all that goes into not just starting but running.
Right. The other thing that I want our listeners to understand for HR Disruptor Summit is this: it is not your guru come in for 3 days and get jacked up on a bunch of neat ideas, right?
No, it's not.
This is thoughtful. This is thoughtful workshops. These are you've got speakers that are experts in their area, but you're covering like the ego. You're covering. I like what the website says: holarchy versus hierarchy, right?
Yes.
So it really, to me, you're coming in because you've got a desire to be that disruptor. I want to start my own business, but this really gets inside you instead of on the surface, like just pumping you up, right?
Scary place.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, we like to say that we attract consciously advanced leaders. Okay, these people that I know sounds a little scary, but we don't have speakers. We have facilitators. We have engagement sessions and labs. So this is an in-person experience, and even our virtual experiences are very unique. So it crosses industries and positions. So you could attend and participate and all of a sudden find new business by talking to people who are other business owners. So last year we created a collaboration between a government entity, a nonprofit, and a private company. Wow. So that was one of the labs, the beta projects that came out from one of the labs. So again, the unexpected opportunity to expand your business because of this collaboration theme and really what it's about. It really, on so many levels, not only individually, but personally and professional transformation. We have mindful, we call it mindful meals. When you go to a conference, a traditional conference, you got 1 hour, right? Eat something and get back to listening to somebody. That's not what we do. It's about taking that time, 90 minutes. You can go by yourself to, spend time alone. You can go with people that you just met. You can go check email, just relax. Again, it's about that mindfulness. So we're pretty excited because it's very unique. Nobody's ever done anything like this because we cross the
I've not heard of
industry
anything
and
like
positions. And so it's hard for even our support ships, more than a hot link and a logo. People are like, well, what's the catch? There is no catch. It's just different, right? And different scares people.
It does, but I like the fact that what you're doing is you're talking to consciously minded people that not only are most likely these are successful people, and doing fairly well, and yet they're still striving to do better, and they know it's not coming. They know to reach out to others to receive knowledge and to better themselves and better the task at hand, what they're doing. Because a lot of small business owners, they end their day saying, God, picked a bad day to quit sniffing glue. It's just been rough.
Yeah.
Because you got to work at it.
Yeah.
I mean, not only do you have to work on your business, but you got to work, on yourself.
Yeah, it's huge, Bill. I mean, that the mental piece.
None of us is born to run and own a business. Nobody's taught that.
No.
Right? We're all freewheeling it, and that's why so many businesses don't survive. And I'm trying to use any other word than failure, but and why so many people give up.
That's really the biggest piece, because we think, how we were talking about linear, like it should. Sometimes we think, okay, it should turn out this way. This should be the result, right? If I do A and B, it should equal C. Right? 1 + 2 is 3. That's not reality. Okay. That's not right. And that linear mindset of, well, I did this and did this. How come this didn't happen? a lot of small businesses or, entrepreneurs, they get stuck on the why. Why did this happen? And like, move on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what next?
Just don't do
And
it again.
there's no need to do it over. There's no need to
Yeah.
rehash it. There's no need to figure it out. Just move on. What
Yeah.
next? It's like it
We
reminds
do
me of,
get stuck on that.
is it not true?
Yeah, we
That's
do
what
get stuck on.
keeps us stalled. That's when failure starts to seep in. When the doubts of frustration of I'm not good enough. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not cut out for this. It's when that happens, when you don't discipline your disappointment. Like literally that word, mentally, I heard that word long time ago. And when I get disappointed or when tech doesn't work and I'm trying to do A, B, and C and it's not working, I have to step back and say, okay, I got to discipline my disappointment, not try to figure it out. What next? I just need to say, what next? What next? Because I got to move from the left brain to the right brain where all the solutions are, right?
That's where my saying make the trade, manage the
Yep.
risk comes into play. And it is okay. First of all, folks, you are not going to make 100% of those decisions accurate.
That's right.
You're correct. You're going to be wrong. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Move on. I agree with you. Don't dwell on the why looking back. You can look at the why going forward. Why am I doing this? Well, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm
Right.
trying to accomplish, what I'm trying to build. And keep that why there because that's what drives you. But a lot of people get discouraged. Well, I didn't make that $1 million that I my business plan shows that I should have made $1 million my first year. And I made 20,000. This isn't working.
Mhm.
And people got to understand the majority of these wealthy, super wealthy, big folks, it took,
Yeah.
10 plus
Yeah.
years.
Well, that's so I had an opportunity to get away a couple weeks ago, and it dawned on me, right? In my mind, to Jan's point, it's you're not good enough. It's not,
Yeah.
But this company that I own is now 5.5 years old. Most companies don't make it that long.
True.
So my definition of success was given to me by somebody else. And as I'm sitting there with my feet in the lake, and I'm like, wait a minute, this thing is hugely successful, a reach of
Yeah.
35 plus million, and it pays for itself. And I'm just like, this is a success, right? But I bought into somebody else's term saying, well, I don't have the Maserati, I don't have the
Yeah,
house in England, I don't have the house in
How
Australia.
we measured
Yeah.
our success.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
boy, did that change my mental outlook on and just the way that I walk into the studio now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, but something we say that's so simple. It's not simple. That's what I think gets me hung up when I see myself going down the bunny trail, and I'm like, okay, in the midst of all these challenges, so what, right? But to your point, Trent, we bought into somebody else's definition.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when I have to go back and I go, okay, well, compared to last year, what changed? Like, how have we grown? Well, guess what? I mean, we started with such and such, and, we've had these great disruptors every year. And, and then people say, well, how many people did attend? I said, for us, the shifting factor in my mental state about numbers of attendees came when I read somewhere that as an individual, in our lifetime, they estimate that every person over the course of their lifetime influences 10,000 people. Okay, so think of this. And guess what? We get to choose whether that's going to be a positive or negative influence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the exponential. So we limit our in-person experience to 100 people.
That's awesome.
Because so people say, oh, well, how many people attended? It's about what each person gets out of this, how they transform individually and collectively, and what comes out of that. right? What social impact comes out of that? What individual impact comes out of that? This number of followers, and you know what? That's great. But really, what does that mean? How many people have you impacted, right?
You're talking about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I sooner have quality over quantity any day of the week. But
Unless it's gold.
unless it's cold.
Unless it's gold.
And this is gold, right? So you also have the opportunity. I mean, it's limited, which is great, but as I'll share here, you also have the ability to get a VIP pass. What does that do for somebody?
So we have some special little secret event going on for the VIPs. I'm just going to say that it's a food experience. So 25, we have spots for 25 people that want to. It's a separate event, food or experience. So that's something we have a chef here in Dallas that really blows. Okay, Amazon ants that taste like lemon.
Oh, awesome. I'm in for that kind of stuff. I like that. Yes. I'm a foodie though. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm here to tell you.
Dallas has some great food.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Babe's Chicken, I think it's called. I like that.
yeah,
Oh yeah, Babe's Chicken is good.
So as we're doing this, another question comes to mind. Are entrepreneurs born or are they made?
Well, what's interesting is I believe we as human beings, we're capable of most things because we limit ourselves mentally. It's really the limitations that we put on ourselves. Right. So to your point, like you said about your lovely wife and, likes to see that check every 2 weeks, right? The fear factor.
Yeah.
It truly is. If you're going to own your own business, you are required. What it's going to require you to do is to really reach within the deep recesses of who you are and have the faith and the belief that in yourself that it can be done, but not be attached to what it looks like. So like we could see that's the biggest piece. So Bill and I, our last conversation, right? We get in this linear mindset or expectation to your point, Trent, about what does success look like, right? So we get into this mindset of, okay, this is how it's the plan. We have a goal. This is how the plan should work. Well, guess what? When the plan doesn't come together, you just got to figure out another plan, right? Like I just think of a maze, like a mouse in a maze, right? And you know how it just keeps on going. It'll go back and forth, trying to find where that opening is. And then it'll go down one wall or one place and he hits a wall and he comes back. That mouse does not look at failure. It just keeps on going. To me, that's what you cannot be attached to an outcome. When you have your own business or own your own business, you mentally have to reprogram your brain and not you can have a business plan. See, that's why I sit there and say, you can have an executive summary or a business plan all day long. Okay. Yeah. But guess what? In reality, you might as well just throw that thing away because half the time things are shifting all the time. Right? Things are shifting all the time.
I like the idea of having a plan to have a focus on where to get started and which way to go. But in that plan, I think you have to also plan that things aren't always going to go the way you expect them to, or you would like them to, or you would want them to, and you're going to have to make adjustments. And you and I have had this conversation, Jan, where it's like you might have this vision of exactly what you think it should be, and you know exactly what to do and exactly what direction to take, and you're going down that road, and all of a sudden now there's a fork. And there's going to be a lot of those. It doesn't matter which way you go. It doesn't. Are you going to sit there and go, well, if I go left, this is going to happen. If I go right, what's going to happen? No. Make the trade, manage your risk, move forward, move on, because that's what being a business owner you're going to run into.
I look to the road. I don't have to pay the toll.
You want the road less traveled?
No, and the one that I don't have to pay a toll on.
Well, good luck. Because
I was going to say.
those roads are all dirt roads now because they're closed and because nobody uses them anymore because everybody charges something for something.
That's right.
But yeah,
Well, and this is the joy. I mean, and just observing and having the honor to be the producer of the show is I can see already just in the few questions that I've asked the collaboration piece of it, right? And that's what this whole summit's about. And to me, it's something that it's different and it's been needed for a long time, I think. And it's if you can, you got to be there. I mean, get in because there's 100 seats, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's
I'm
it.
going to. I thought it was September 20th to September 22nd,
Nope,
and I'm like,
October 18th to the 20th.
okay, because I was going to be in a different part of the country at that time in September, but I'm not in October. I did tell you I was coming down to Dallas over Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving, but come on, Bill.
Might have to come early.
You have
Bring some people with you. I'm serious because really the energy that is exchanged and experienced over that 2.5 days. Well, Wednesday night, see, this is where you would love it because Wednesday night, that's where we're having our disruptors welcome reception.
Okay.
We're going to have our 11-year-old and our 13-year-old business disruptors are going to be there with their parents. We are going to have a couple of educators. As I shared with you before, we have an educator that works for a daycare preschool franchise business that they are teaching 6-week-old babies strategic thinking. And we're going to be talking, we're going to be talking about, okay, we got 11-year-old, we got a 13-year-old, and now we got somebody that has a franchise business across the country, daycare, preschool, that are educating and prepping 6-week-old babies how to think strategically. What do you do with that? You definitely don't put them in our current school system. I can tell you that.
Because you're disrupting the whole school system here. You're actually teaching them things that they're going to be able to use in their life.
But think of this: we are pre-programming
the current system,
right? No, but what's so cool about it is you're understanding that that's how we're born. We're born into the leading edge of thought. So this really didn't hit me until, I knew practical. I have nieces and nephews, but this was in 2011, 2012. I'm sitting in a doctor's office waiting for my appointment. This lady comes in. She has a toddler with her, right? And she puts him down in the chair next to me, a couple chairs down. And she says, "Don't move. I'm going to go check us in." He sits down, his little legs are running like this, and he goes, "Fo." She's digging in her purse, grabs her cell phone, hands it to him, and says, "Do not download any games." I look up at her and I go, "Excuse me, how old is your son?" She said, 14 months.
And he already knows how to download games.
That's amazing.
That's
We
crazy.
are born. Okay. This is not just a generation. This is not isolated to certain people.
Right.
As human beings, we are born into the leading edge of thought, meaning what we are experiencing right now, they already intuitively, as humans, we already know.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but when we send them to school in this outdated, antiquated process, linear process, we're dumbing them down. And
Oh boy.
for Wednesday night, like for that conversation, for that roundtable, Bill, I want people like you and Trent and you people that are in business that understand. Like if you got an 11-year-old who's got a successful business, a restaurant, then you got a 13-year-old that has 2 businesses and 4 employees. And then you got a franchise daycare preschool that is now producing and able to pretty much influence and co-create a child that has, by 3 years old or 2 years old already is functioning in strategic thinking. Yeah. What we have got to start talking about these things because nobody else is. And so I just can't wait to get more, press on this because mainstream doesn't talk about this.
Well, we're working on it right now. try and help get that word out to you, and we'll spread this around as well. But I agree with you. It's we have a system in place that is dumbing people down. It flat out is, and it's terrible because they get to a certain point in life and say, this isn't what I was expecting. This isn't what, because we shelter our kids too, right? Even as parents, we shelter our kids up until they get out of college. And then it's like, okay, good luck.
Yeah.
Well,
It's tough out there.
a lot of people do, right? I've got 4 kids, and they range from 29 down to 14, and I'm excited because my kids maintain that creativity and are chasing their dreams. You and I talked about something, my son and his quest, and he's coming into town for my daughter's wedding next week, and
Nice.
so I'm excited to share that idea that you and I talked about.
Yep.
And somebody asked, we were in Shared Connections, and it was, who do you admire? And I said, I admire my daughter. She's 27 years old. She's chasing her dreams every day.
Yeah.
She's getting married. It's not just because she's getting married, but it's like she has the gumption, and she's changing the world. She's a clinical psychologist, but she's doing out of the box things, and she's chasing her dream.
Yeah.
And that to me energizes me. Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's
seeing
inspirational.
This 13-year-old, this energizes me. How cool is that? Right.
Yeah.
And to just go, oh yeah, I don't know how you can't get motivated by that.
It
Right?
is inspirational.
It's
We get
exciting.
inspired by those who overcome their fears,
Yeah.
overcome their demons. And, we've talked about that on the show too, is the easiest way to overcome your demons are to find a purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And then they go away.
And
It doesn't matter.
And the brilliance, I think, is that a lot of people who are stuck in the public school type thing would be like, oh, I got a lucky break. Right. And I'm
born
like,
with a silver spoon.
and I'm like, I want to pick that. I want to pick that 11-year-old's brain.
I'm here. His mindset. What's interesting, Olivia, she's the 11-year-old, right? And Grayson, I met him last year, right after the summit. Every year I say, okay, I'm ready to receive next year's disruptor. And 1 week to the day, after I was driving, after we packed the car up and driving back home after the summit, I was in a semi-meditative state when you drive, right?
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm open to receive next year's summit. 1 week later, I went to an event with my husband, and we're walking across the street, and we see this young man with a lemonade stand. Go up and talk to him. Hey, what's your name? And how long have you had your business? He said, 4 years. He said he's got his Instagram. He's the Lakeside Lemonade Kid. He's got 2 special syrups that he has made and created. He has a Rubik's Cube sitting on the table. And so he's talking, and he's hey, would you like to, for 50 cents more or 25 cents more, you want to try the special syrup? It's got lavender oil in it. Absolutely. And so he's sitting here talking to us, doing the Rubik's Cube, talking, and eye contact. Can you write that down? Eye contact. Okay. And then all of a sudden he stops. He sets it down. He goes and gets more lemonade, and it's done. The Rubik's Cube is done, right? And I stop and I go, oh my God, Grayson, that's awesome. He goes, oh, thanks. He goes, it's just something I do, keep my hands occupied and time occupied. And I said, well, gosh. And Buzz asked him, my husband asked him, do you see yourself working for anybody in the future? He goes, oh, no, sir.
Right.
And then 1 month later, when I met with him and his mother, he said, Miss Jane, can I talk to you about something? I said, yeah, what's up? He goes, I got this idea. He goes, I'm going to open up a window washing business. And I already kind of tested the market already, and I have 3 clients. And he said, do you think that you could help me put together, when I met with him the first time, I said, we need to put something together for a course that you can teach through Better Job Fit, right? He goes, really? I go, absolutely. And so I said, we'll talk about that, afterwards, right? Well, he asked me the next month. He goes, you brought up about the course. He goes, you think you could help me do that? I said, absolutely. I said, we're going to put it online. And so we're going to, again, this is who he doesn't have that limitation, that mindset, limited mindset, right? And so within a month, he already tested the market. He already got 3 clients to, test what he's going to need. And he goes, Miss Jan, I need to hire somebody. I said, well, tell me what qualities do you think are important, for who you're looking for? And he goes, well, I kind of think of just what the needs are for the business. I said, that's what you should consider. So what would they be? Well, I need somebody who can drive, and I need somebody who's taller than me. There you go. So that was the real basic need. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then within 2 weeks, he hired a 20-year-old who was in college and drives them around. They go and scout businesses, talk to people. So they do a little, walk and talk, and then do quotes. So the kid, the 20-year-old drives them around, helps them do the windows, right? But guess what? That young man, the 20-year-old, in one weekend made $700. So again, think about what that young man who's in college is saying. Are you kidding? Like,
Well,
I'm the employee of
first of all, I don't walk up to a lemonade stand and ask the person how long you've been in business.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even cross my mind. But second of all,
that's just how I think.
Even if it did cross my mind, I would expect the kid to say, it's been about 45 minutes.
I've been out here all weekend.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I know the kids in my neighborhood, they did a lemonade stand about a week ago, and they posted on the Facebook page for the neighborhood. And half an hour later, they posted, sorry, folks, we're all out. We're done.
Yeah.
We've sold everything out in half an hour. Great job.
But you see how they're already learning business. That's a business. They are already posting, we're sold out. Okay. Nobody had to teach them that. They're doing it already. So what is it that they're already doing it and learning it and making money? They're already using and leveraging social media. So again, what is there left to teach? I mean,
right.
I mean, you can't talk to them about venture capital. They don't need, they're not up to, but that's what I'm saying is it's already happening. So this mindset of, we got to teach them. Well, how about they're already doing it?
Yep.
Well, we got to teach them how to write, right? They don't know how to write.
Well, guess what? The school's not teaching them how to do that. They took away cursive writing.
I know they did.
Okay,
that's why I was saying that facetiously, but yeah. Well, that's like the one school that I talked to. I said, well, how do you teach decision-making skills? They go, that's from, they get that from geometry. And I go, do they know that?
No. Yeah, are you telling them that? Are you connecting the dots?
I mean, where do those two dots connect? But okay. But we have about
the big disconnect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like
this is a great conversation. And we only have about 2 minutes left, so I want to take the time to thank you for coming on the show and for this bringing this subject to our attention, because holy cow, even my eyes are opened up here.
I mean, collaboration 2023. Together for Conscious Purpose, October 18th to 20th, down in Dallas, Texas, the good city of Dallas. Still seats available.
Should cooled off by then.
It might be 100 by then.
Yeah, it'll cool down to 100.
But guys, it's not that bad.
But you want to make sure that you go to www.hrdisruptorssummit.com. And reserve your seat. There are some VIP openings still available.
I like that option.
And if you're looking for something to move you to the next square or the next space on your board of life, this is probably it.
I agree. You this has been very, very eye-opening to me, Jan. And I know we've had conversations about it, but still, learning even more. It's incredible, and I think it's the future.
Thank
I
you
think
so much, Bill. It's been great to be with you both and just to talk about this to other people that get it. So I really appreciate that
well,
opportunity.
we'll definitely
excited
continue
for
the
it.
conversation. We'll have more of that, and I'm looking forward to meeting Buzz, and I'm looking forward to getting down to Dallas. So,
and after the summit, I'd love to have you back on.
Oh, I would love that.
And
Thank
just
you.
to see, how to go,
yeah,
and maybe there, Bill, if you go down there, you might get a couple more guests.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, we'll definitely. I'll pull out the old Rolodex
Yeah.
and see if we can't find a few more people that this would help out. Yeah. Well, you know how old I am, right? So I say Rolodex, but again, incredible conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for coming
Jan,
and
thanks
taking the
so much
time to
for
be on the
coming on.
show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And people can email me at jbarlow@betterjobfit.org as well. So please feel free to
Okay.
reach out.
betterjobfit.org.
Yep.
Or you could reach out to me. You can reach out to Kent.
Yep.
And we can reach out to 216 the net. There's a number of ways know how to get a hold of us, and we're here to help.
Comment on this on social media, and we'll get somebody to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, for all of us here, 216 the net. Thanks for getting caught in the net with us today. This has been another great episode of Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase. Thanks, Jan, and we look forward to the HR Disruptor Summit.
Absolutely. Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you, Jan. Thank you for the listeners. Appreciate it.